Alright, hey boys and girls. So I'm not here today, but I'm going to go over your lesson with you real quick. You need to make sure you watch this entire video. I'd follow along, take notes in OneNote. That way when you go to start your homework, you can go back and look for help. Alright, so first thing is make sure in your OneNote you've gone over and you copied over Chapter 10, Volume and Similar Solids. Okay, so for the next 4 days, we're going to finish up Chapter 10. We did really briefly a little bit of this before our map testing. So we're going to spend a little more time looking at it. When you're into OneNote, you'll see the chapter overview these 4 days. Each section, what we're going to be learning about, the learning target, and how we will be able to know if we met it through the success criteria. So today we're going to be looking at section 10.1, volumes of cylinders. Our learning target is to find the volume of a cylinder. And the way we'll know if we are doing that is we will use the formula to find the volume of a cylinder, or use the volume for the volume of a cylinder to find a missing dimension. So really today you're going to have two scenarios. One, we're going to have all the dimensions and we have to find out how much volume a cylinder holds. And then the second one is we know how much the volume is, we know one of the dimensions, but we're missing one of the dimensions. So it's really just solve an equation. Let's go to this. Alright, so lesson 10.1, I just went over the learning target and success criteria. So the first thing, this is just a little review, should be your warm-up. Find the square root, write your answer as a fraction or a mixed number in simplest form. Remember, because this is a fraction, I can rewrite this as the square root of 9 all over the square root of 4, and for some reason I started writing something else. So the square root of 4, and the square root of 9 is simply 3. The square root of 4 is 2. Your first answer should have been the square root, your answer should be 3 over 2. Alright, so number 2 on here, same thing. Go ahead, pause your video, see if you can get this answer. Alright, so hopefully you paused and you did this. Let's see if you did it right. I would rewrite this as, I'm trying to write on my laptop. Square root of 16 all over square root of 9. So that would leave me square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 9 is 3. So I should get 4/3. Alright. So let's look at today's lesson. Today, our key idea, the volume of a cylinder. The volume, or V, of a cylinder is the product of the area of the base and the height of the cylinder. So if you look at our picture, you're really seeing volume equals B times H. So volume is base times height. If you look at the picture, you see right here, this is the base. So it's the flat part of the cylinder, the circle part. And there's a top and bottom to it. And then just how tall our cylinder is. If the cylinder is kind of leaning, we still find that total height. If you remember on map testing though, we always use V equals BH. But the thing is, what is the base? Like, what is that? Well, that's a 2D shape. So we're going to have to find the surface area of that base. And because the base is a circle, we just have to put in the formula. What is the formula for base? So, hopefully we remember to find base of a circle, the surface area. We would go ahead and we would do pi times radius squared. Now, I think everyone's going to agree with me right now with my handwriting. What's going to be best for you to see this is we're going to solve this one together. Now you can already see the answer down here. I've included this on every one of our lessons. Here's the question and then the answer in case you ever need to go back. But we're going to look at this one. So, find the volume of a cylinder. I'm going to go into big ideas. Remember, if you go into Big Ideas and you go to your menu, you can always go back until you have all these chapters. We are in Chapter 10, Section 1, and I'm going to go all the way down to, we were just on the key ideas. This is what you see in OneNote, and I'm going to go to the next page, hopefully. Maybe not. Okay, I'm going to go to example 1, and here it is. Remember, on Big Ideas, you have two options. You can go ahead and hit play, and they'll go through this. Or I can click on step by step. So that's what we're going to do. So this is the problem you're solving. Alright, so the first thing is we know the volume is found by base times height. And because base, like we're saying right here, is pi times r squared. So I like how they color code this. The B's in red and base is pi times r squared. So I'm going to substitute pi r squared in for our first formula. Well, we can see our radius is 3. So I'm going to say pi times 3 squared. And we're going to take that times the height, which was 6. So very, very easy equation. Go ahead and have your calculators on. You guys can work on this. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. So we get 54 times pi, and remember that little squiggly equal sign means it's approximately 169.6. So we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So our answer is about 169.6 cubic meters. Go back to my OneNote, and you'll see that's what we did there. Okay, try it out. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, and I'm going to have you try and solve this one. So it says, find the volume of a cylinder with the radius of 4 feet and the height of 15 feet. Now remember, I'm going to scroll back up here and look. We did volume equals base times height. And remember, our base is pi times radius squared. Alright, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do this. Alright, so hopefully you guys have set your equation up. From the information, I know my radius is 4. My height is 15, so I'm going to go in here and say volume equals, and instead of base, I'll mark this down here, instead of base, I'm inputting this, and instead of the r, we're inputting our 4. So volume equals pi times 4 squared times 15. I have my calculator out to show you how we use this. I'm going to first do 4 squared. So 4 squared is 16, 4 times 4. And then we times it by 15 equals 240. And then I have to times it by pi. So I'm going to go times, and there's my pi button. And that tells me what pi is, and I hit equals. So we get 753.98. 753.98. And rounding to the nearest tenth means right here. And so my answer is either going to be 753.9, or if you'd go up, 754.0. And our final answer, because we look at the 8 in the 100th place, we would round up. My answer should be 754.0. Volume, we are in feet cubed. Now, I am being a stickler. You should say the answer as 754.0, not just 754. The reason, I know they're both equal to the exact same thing, but the reason is, right here they say round to the nearest tenth. So my answer needs to be written in the 10th place. So we're going to put that place value of the 10th right there. Okay, the only thing different on this one, our work is still there. It's right underneath, so you could scroll and see that. The only thing different is they didn't tell us our radius here. They told us the diameter. So I'm still going to set this up the same. Volume equals base times height. And our base equals pi times radius squared. So the other important things we know is we know our diameter, second thing. We right now know diameter is 10. Well, remember, a diameter is twice as long as our radius. So the first thing I'm going to do is do 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then that's going to tell me my radius is 5. So now I'm just going to say this is 5. So I'm going to go in here and say volume. Ooh, but now if I look, I don't know my height. My height's the one that's unknown. So we're going to fill in the equation what we do know. I know my volume is 314. So I'm going to say 314 equals my base. Well, base is pi times my radius squared. Radius is 5. And then times my h, my height. We simplify, I'd have pi, 5 squared is 25, times height equals 314. I'm now going to do pi times 25. So 25 times pi equals 78.53. So I'm going to say alright, sorry about that. You guys probably can't tell, but it switched up. I had a glitch on my computer here. So let's go back. I'm just going to backtrack real quick because I had a little problem here. So 314 equals pi times 25 times h. So I'm going to go in my calculator, and to get h all by itself, well, I'm multiplying by pi and 25. So I'm going to undo those by dividing by them since they are timesing onto my h. So on my calculator, I'm going to put in 314, and I'm going to say divide by pi, divide by 25. And I'm going to get 3.9. Let's see, 3.99 equals h. And once again, since we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, here's my hundredth. Oops, I'm sorry, to the nearest. Oh, round to the nearest whole number. Got a little ahead of myself. Round to the nearest whole number. So I look at 3.9. That's going to round to 4. So my height is 4 inches. Alright, so let's go. Here's just the work. Same thing what we just did. And oh, okay, I was confused on what's going on here. Alright, so it says try it. So for some reason, our triangle, our cylinder, I'm sorry guys, my computer was doing this earlier. For some reason it's not showing the cylinder to the left. So we'll just skip the try it for now. Alright, so last one we're doing, find the radius of the cylinder. round your answer to the nearest whole number. So once again, I'm going to look, same procedure, nothing's changing. Volume equals base times height. And what do I know? I know base is pi times radius squared. My radius is unknown. That is what we are solving for. So I would say my height is 8 feet. My volume is 226. So all we're doing today is the same procedure. We're really working with this equation of volume equals base times height, which will actually simplify and break down to volume equals pi times radius squared times your height. This is going to be the main equation we're going to use for all of today. All you have to do is identify each component and solve, which I know you guys can do. So I'm going to go in here. Volume is 226. 226 equals, and I'll fill in the blanks, pi radius squared. Height is 8. Okay, I'm going to use my calculator to help me on this. So I'm going to go ahead and do pi, let's clear this out, pi times 8. Because I want to solve on this side of the equation. There's my pi, there's my 8, they're multiplying. And because of commutative property multiplication, we can switch them around. So I'm going to get 25.3. Or 25.13. And actually, I'm going to back up. I can write that down and I can round it. But really, what I'm going to go ahead and do, because I know that's coming to a non-repeating decimal, I'm actually going to do this first. Let me show you a trick to use on your calculator. I'm going to take this number first. So I'm going to take that 226, and instead of multiplying pi and 8 and getting a big number and then dividing that, I'm just going to divide right away. 226 divided by my pi equals. And then I have to divide by my 8 equals. So I'm going to get 8.9 something continuous. And all of that is going to equal my r squared. Now I can go ahead and I can round this, and this will be fine. It's going to come out the same. I'm going to round to my nearest whole number. This is going to be about 9. And we'd have r squared. And of course we square root to get rid of a square. And I would get 3. That's a horrible 3. And I would get my answer. My radius would be, and I should use squiggly ones. Well, for crying out loud. My radius is approximately 3 feet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you, yeah, see we got the same thing down here. I'm going to show you real quick how you could use your calculator in multiple ways, as long as you're following the rules of math. Alright, so this is one reason why I love math, because you can find it multiple ways. So, what I could have done was, I could have went ahead and said pi times 8 equals 25.13. Okay, then I would have done 226 divided by 25.13 equals, so then I'd have 8.993, long continuous, equals r squared. And so I could say the square root of that, and I would get 2.998, which is going to round to 3, which is the exact same thing we had. Once again, you could solve this many ways. 226, I could have divided by 8 first, and got this, and then I'd have to divide by pi, and I would have got that 8.9, and you can see this part of the decimal is just a little bit different. And then square root it, and we still get our same answer. When you round, you're just not as accurate. So the reason I did it the way I did at first is I'd like to use my calculator as much as possible. The best way to do this is understanding the steps and just going 226 divided by pi equals, divide by the 8 equals, and then squaring it, or square rooting it. That way I used as many decimal places as I could. Alright. Trying to find the radius of the cylinder. We're going to just do one. Don't worry about number 4. I mean, if you want extra practice, you can. But we're going to do number 3 here. So, volume equals base times height. And my radius, oops, let's do base first. My base is pi times r squared. Hopefully you're getting that memorized. My radius on this example is unknown. My height is 4. And my volume is 28. So when I set up my equation, I should really be writing volume equals, okay, base is pi r squared h. Okay, so I'm going to say my volume was 28 equals pi times my radius is unknown, so r squared, and h was 4. Okay, hopefully if you remember how to use your calculator, pull this out, we can do all these steps first. I'm going to do 28 divided by, and I'm going to do 4 right away because I know my fact family and I know that's going to go in nice. So that's going to be 7. And if I want to write this out, that means I really have 7 equals pi r squared left. Okay, I got to divide by pi. So I'm going to be left with 2 point and a long decimal. Now remember, I could round this off and stop like at the 100th or something. Usually when you're working with decimals, until you round, you should go to the 100th or the 1000th place. I'm going to leave it in my calculator. And I'm going to tell you why. When I got my answer, I would have this answer 2.22816, so on. And it's going to equal just r squared. And so remember, the way we get rid of the square is to square root this. So I'm going to get 1.492. 1.492 is equal to just r. Okay. Now, since I don't have my calculator, I'm going to break this down right over here. This equation, I'm going to show all this again, because I want to make sure you fully understand what you're doing. Alright, my first step was I divided this side by 4, this side by 4. We put that in my calculator, and I got 7 equals pi r squared. We then divided by pi. And we got, to be honest, I'll have to go back in here, 7 divided by pi. We got that long number. I'm going to write down 2.228. Then we square rooted each side because squaring would undo my, or square rooting would undo my squaring. So I'd have r, and that's where we came up with 1.492. Our answer says round to the nearest tenth. Here's my tenth. So my answer is either 1.4 or 1.5. We looked at the next number in the 100th place. So we would say 1.5 is approximately our radius. And when we label this, it's in meters. So 1.5 meters. Okay, should have been a halfway overview for you guys as we did this before map testing. Your homework, you can look here. It's only 6 questions. Follow the same procedure we did. But I want you to make sure you go into big ideas. Let me get there. You see all active assignments. For me, I have to choose upcoming because it's tomorrow. but you'll see it to be right in here. Preview your assignment, and these will be your 6 questions. I did, of course, leave you multiple checking, so I expect everyone, since you're only doing 6 questions, you should be able to get 100%. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow.